our leek and smoked bacon chowder. What you should be looking at is a bowl of soup that looks relatively fresh, not too heavy, plenty of colour from the leeks, the bacon and the lovely fresh herbs. We'll taste the choux pastry after. First we're going to have a little taste of the soup. And straight away I get a beautiful creamy texture of soup with a hint of lemon, smoked bacon coming through. Fresh, light, not heavy. A lovely balance of textures within the soup. The leeks, the onion, I can taste the garlic. The fresh herbs and the citrus just elevate it at the last minute. Beautiful. When I look at my choux pastry, I'm looking for colour, I'm looking for crispness, I'm looking to taste a very, very clean blue cheese and walnuts filling. Important to remember, this is an accompaniment to the soup. The soup needs to be the prominent flavour. This is secondary, but this should have a lovely, mellow, blue cheese, creamy kick to complement the soup. Utterly delicious too. The two work hand in hand. Just remember when you put these together that you get the correct balance. The soup is number one, and the profiteroles are your second take to the soup. Beautiful as one. Okay, so leek and potato chowder. A beautiful soup, quite a hearty soup. A lot of ingredients going into this one today. Usually people would say it originates from the North America, where you often see seafood involved with the bacon, clams often, lobster, crab. We're actually doing today a very simple leek and smoked bacon chowder, which is a beautiful combination. But as when you make any soups or you make any sauces, the important thing is that you really slowly build up the flavours to your actual sauce or soup. The temptation is to put it all into one, quickly stir it around, maybe a minute here, a minute there, but you're not going to extract the flavours from these lovely ingredients. And what we have today, we have some lovely smoked pancetta bacon, and what I've done now, I've taken the actual rind off and I've cubed it into little pieces of bacon, or you could cut them into nice lardons of bacon, a little bit big if you fancied a little bit more bite to your soup. Other ingredients: thyme, lemon, onion, garlic, butter unsalted, a little bit of oil. We've got some leek, which I've washed and just chopped up relatively small. We have flour, which is going to be the thickening agent to this soup. White wine. We have some nice diced potato, all the same size, and some double cream just to make it a little bit more richer and a little bit more creamier and smoother. You could use water in this soup, it's absolutely fine, but I've actually got some vegetable stock. I'm going to use vegetable stock as an option. You could use chicken stock if you wanted to. So before I start, I'm just going to turn my pan on and warm my pan up. The first element to this pan will be my smoked bacon. I'm not going to put any fat in there to start off with. I'm just going to see if I can render down some of the lovely fat from my bacon. And I'm not going to have my pan on too high a heat, because what we don't want to do is to have a saucepan which is going to be full of colour and sediment. Now you will naturally get some, but you can see I've put this into a relatively warm, cold pan. It's not sizzling away. We're going to try and render down that fat. Now this could take up to 10 minutes, depending on the heat and the size of your bacon cut. But initially what I'm going to do is just to leave that and let that stir around and render down some of the fat. That fat will keep, because it's a lot of flavour within this actual soup, so it's really important to keep that there. We will help it on its way with a little bit of plain pomace oil. So this is a second blend of extra virgin oil. This is a neutral oil. It's something that you can take to a high temperature. Another oil that would be good would maybe be rapeseed oil. That's a nice option as well. And already I can just start to see some elements of fat being released from the actual bacon within the pan. Now I want it to be relatively crispy. I'm going to leave some in there and I might take some out, just use as a garnish a little bit later. But I'm just going to, like I say, keep stirring that around. Now if your pan is too hot, just turn it down slightly, and there's nothing wrong with that. You're in control of the pan after all. And again, you know, you're looking to slowly incorporate flavours here. You're not looking to rush this soup. You're looking to really slowly add things as you go along and add value. So whilst that's cooking away nicely, keep an eye on it. In a minute, I'm going to add a little bit of oil. Whilst that's cooking, this is rather large onion, so I'm just going to cut it in half. I'm going to do half an onion for my recipe. I'm just going to finely dice it. Now the important thing to remember here is that the leek and the bacon are the main ingredients here. So the onion needs to be finely diced. It needs to be more of a background flavour rather than a prominent flavour. So at this stage, I'm going to add a little bit of oil just to help the process to crisp up that bacon. So control the heat. Once you start to see it become a little bit crispy, then you're at the stage where you may want to just turn the heat off completely. I'm at that stage where it's almost there. There's a small amount of sediment on there, but that's fine. I'm just going to turn it off now while I just chop my onion. So, root on, I'm going to cut as fine as I can to that root. Keep the onion as whole as possible. Turn the onion around, slice once, twice. If it's a big, you may want to go 3 times. Just check my bacon again. Let me just show you my bacon while we're here. You can see how lovely and golden and how crispy it is. I'm just going to remove some of that in a bit. And we're going to keep some back for a little bit of garnish. Now with my onion, I'm just going back straight down to create that lovely dice to go into my soup. I'm now going to put my pan back on. I'm going to remove some of my bacon, maybe about a tablespoon, and I'm going to leave that for a little bit later as a nice garnish. So, into my pan. This is not a soup for the faint-hearted. There are some calories within this. So we're going to add our butter next. So that's going to add flavour as well. Really important that you remember butter is not just a fat, it's a flavouring item to go into our soup. We're going to add our onions and we're going to cook those down with no colour as well. So it's important to realise that we're not looking for colour. We're looking for softening of onion. We're looking for that lovely sweet taste to come through. Keep stirring that around. I'm going to take my garlic and I'm going to add my garlic next. Garlic's going to go at its second stage, just so it doesn't burn. So grate your garlic in. Drop that into the pan and cook that out as well. So again, what we have now, we have our butter, we have our bacon, our onions and our garlic, and we're really cooking that down nice and slowly, taking out all the bite from the onion, taking away the harshness of the garlic, and natural sugars of the garlic will also add to the flavour of this pan. And already I can smell that garlic really starting to come through nicely. So the next stage, after you've cooked your onion and garlic, we're going to add our leeks. Now that's a really important part because you want to make sure that you soften those leeks. That is the second core ingredient within this soup that's going to flavour the soup, and it's important they become super soft, super tender, super sweet, and extract the flavour. So that's going in next. Now, to stop it burning, a nice little tip, if you wanted one, and if you need it, is you can always add a little touch of water or a touch of stock at this stage, and that will just help the process of sweating down the leek. So I'm going to add a very small amount of stock just to create a steam, and you can probably hear that, which will just enhance the cooking of the chowder. So again, important, don't rush it. Whilst that's cooking down, you could perhaps dice your potato. You can see I've done this already. Now the important thing here, this is just a normal baking potato. What we're looking for when we cook this out at the very end, we're looking for it to all cook at the same size. So the importance being your potato needs to be diced all the same size. And you're looking for a little bit of a bite. And when you bite into your potato, the potato should just crumble. Okay, what you don't want is a raw potato. And again, that potato, when you cook it, will release starch. And again, that's another thickening agent to this actual soup. So it's important that when you serve this soup, that you get the right consistency. And the consistency of a chowder can vary from kitchen to kitchen. For me personally, it's a very rich soup. It's got potato, it's got double cream, it's got flour. You've got a little bit of white wine and lemon juice, but ideally what you're looking for is a drop in consistency when you actually put it into your mouth. You don't want it to be thick like a thick cream sauce. So that's key as well, really important. And remember that you can always thin down a little bit as you go with your vegetable stock or your water just before perhaps you need to serve. Okay, so the leeks are cooking down quite nicely. There's no sediment on the bottom of the pan. It's a clean base of a pan, which means my soup at the moment will be super clean when it comes to serving. I can smell the bacon. That's coming through quite nicely now, quite prominent. If your stock has reduced and you want to add a little bit more to help that process, just a small amount will just help create, as I said, that steam and the softening of the leeks. Make sure they're pushed down. Make sure they've got contact from the base of all of the pan. And you want to try and omit the bites. So you can see here I'm really taking my time, I'm not rushing at this stage. So next one will be the flour. So this will be a thickening agent. So when you add your flour, similar to like a sauce you make, you need to make sure that you cook that flour out. If you don't cook the flour out, what will happen is that you'll end up with a very chalky chowder. Now you don't want that, you want it to be silky, creamy and smooth. So important part next stage, adding your flour and cooking your flour out before you add your white wine. So just one more little drop of stock. I'm going to let that cook down for about another minute and then we're ready to go with our flour. I'm just going to have a little taste of my leeks, so hopefully the crunch, the bite will be omitted. Almost there. Okay, so on to the next stage. We're going to add our flour. So about 1 tablespoon. And then you may want to turn down the heat at this stage because this is going to slightly catch on the bottom of your pan. And again, the important thing is that you make sure you cook that flour out, really cook it out. Similar to the choux pastry, when we added our flour to our water and our fat solids. Okay, so about a minute, just keep stirring it, keep an eye on it. control the temperature. Okay, so we're ready to add our wine, and what you'll find when you add your wine to this, it will become relatively thick, almost like a little bit wallpaper pasty, gloopy. And that should work quite nicely and take the sediment from the bottom of your pan. And you should be able to see a little roux sauce almost appearing in the base of your saucepan. So again, just cook that wine out, take away the alcohol. Don't rush it at this stage. Okay, so the next stage will be then to add your potatoes and your cream and the required liquid to go into your soup. So take your cream next, pour in your cream. Make sure you get all your cream out, don't waste any. And mix that cream in. So what you should end up with now is a relatively, almost like a bechamel sauce in here, a relatively thick based soup, and you certainly wouldn't want to serve the soup at this stage. Okay, so once you've added your cream, you're then going to add your potatoes and give them a little wash off first. These have been washed off. I'm going to drop those in. And I'm going to add probably about 100 ml of either water or your vegetable stock. Water or your vegetable stock. About 100 ml. Now remember, you can always add, but you can never take away. So just be careful at this stage that you don't add too much. What you're looking to do is to take this to the consistency almost like a pouring cream at this stage. Bring this up to the boil and then turn it down to a nice simmer stage. Now this will probably take, depending on the size of your potatoes, on a medium heat, about 5 to 10 minutes before you should get a nice consistency forming and a nice bite of potato. And at the very end, we're going to add some fresh thyme. We're going to add some lovely lemon juice, some salt and some pepper, and some lovely fresh herbs. And what we're also going to do is add some lovely diced, blanched green leeks on top, a drizzle of olive oil, just to finish the soup off, and serve it, of course, with our lovely side orders of our lovely profiteroles with our blue cheese, watercress, and walnut filling. So we're going to come back to this in a little bit. Just let it cook out for 5 to 10 minutes, and we'll have a taste, check the seasoning,